Welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast. My name is Rob Murgatroyd, and I am a former doctor turned lifestyle entrepreneur. Each week, I interview some of the best minds on the planet on the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. Today's episode is a mini-sode that we call Fri-Date with the Wife. In these mini-sodes, my wife Kim and I deconstruct the strategies that we've developed over the last decade to not only grow personally, but to turn our struggles into lessons and create fulfillment in all areas of our lives. Excuses are over. It's time to live. Let's dig into today's topic. Well, Kimberly Murgatroyd, how are you today?
I am doing great. How are you, my fine husband?
Well, at the recording of this podcast, I am launching my official mastermind. Oh, wait. We're going to talk about
did you just drop something?
We're going to talk about my mastermind today. I'm so excited.
Well, we're going to talk about masterminds in general and why they're a game changer and how to choose one. And yes, we are going to officially launch the Work Hard, Play Hard Mastermind for 2019.
Well, it sounds like you have an agenda. So it sounds like I can't just talk about mine. So tell me, what do you want to know about master? How can this master of my domain, for those Seinfeld people, the master of how can I help you with master minding? See, where'd you think I was going to go?
I was so confused.
Yeah.
So the reason that I thought this would be a good subject today to talk about is because you just got back from Chris Harder's For the Love of Money Mastermind that you've been in for the year. And while it's all fresh in your mastermind, get it? See what I did there? It's so fresh in your mind. I wanted to get some overview. And, this concept of masterminds is new to some people. And I wanted to go a little deep in there. So you ready?
I am ready. Are you going to lead this? Am I going to be the interviewee?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Well, take it away.
All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is, what is a mastermind? Explain it for me. And what can one expect from a mastermind in general?
I think it's best for me to start with what it is not, because I think that I have to color the lens first of what it isn't so that you're not filtering what you think it is through what I'm about to explain. So it is not coaching. It is not a retreat. It is not a seminar. What masterminding is getting a group of, there's some people who have masterminds with hundreds of people, and there's some people that have it with 5 people. The sweet spot for me, based on my experience, is about 25 people that are either on your level economically or are on a higher level. So you're going to have a mix. And Chris Harder's mastermind, if you want to continue on that example, he has people that are between $300,000 a year and $1.5 million a year. Maybe one or two are a little higher than that or a little lower than that, but that's kind of the range. So what you're doing is, when you have 25 people that are together working on each other's businesses via different exercises, you get perspective that there's no way that you would get in any other setting. So in short, I'm sure you have a lot of, more directed questions, but in short, you have a group of people that are, quasi on your level, that are likely in a variety of different businesses that allow you to bounce off each other and go deep into exercises with the end goal of accelerating your business.
All right. So let's move to the next one. How does the mastermind impact your success? Like, give me some examples. You just said bouncing ideas off of other people. What else do you have there?
Well, I think what happens is there becomes commonalities within the group, like I said. So, on the one hand, if you're somebody, I'll use me. If you're somebody that has a podcast, it's very nice to be able to talk to people who have a podcast, that you could talk about strategies of things that they're doing versus things that you're doing. Now, that said, it's also nice to talk to people who don't have a podcast, because a lot of times people in one particular line of work tend to chase other people who are in that line of work, and they're all doing the same thing, and thus originality is decreased. So I think that would be one point. Another thing is What starts to happen is you start to develop deep connections with the group. And if the facilitator of the mastermind is worth his or her salt, they will be very strategic in how they bond and blend the group together with exercises at the right time with the right facilitator who's leading the exercise to allow the group to bond. And the way that that's typically done is through vulnerability. So there may be, one of the exercises that we did, it was a multi-part exercise, which I don't need to go into here. But one of the questions within that exercise is, what is the difficult conversation that you need to have? And when conversations are difficult that you need to have, they bring up emotion. And when you're in a small group, let's say when you break, if you have 25 people and you all break off into groups of 4 or 5, and you go deep into the difficult conversation that you have to have, first of all, it allows you to get it out. Second of all, the people listening will share with you, hey, I had to have that conversation. That wasn't easy. Or I'm not emotionally tied to this conversation, so I can offer you some perspective. Here's the perspective that I'll give you. And so you start to, number one, identify where, continuing on with this example, where the difficult conversation is, bouncing off ways to have the difficult conversation. And then, I didn't tell you this, but it's making me remember this. One of the speakers who's in a different mastermind, who's in Lewis Howes's mastermind, said that what he tries to do is he tries to do something during the mastermind that he can't undo. For example, he will fire somebody. He will send a message via text. We need to talk on Monday about X, Y, and Z. And it's difficult to undo those things. So one of our exercises...
But you have support in the group, and so you feel like powerful to do it. It's like the chicken list, to-do list.
It's exactly right. And one of the exercises, one of the girls said, I'm going to get to it. And then everybody was, kind of joking with her, and they were screaming, do it now, do it now. And then, Chris was like, this feels like I'm watching I'm Not Your Guru with Tony Robbins.
This is very Tony Robbins. Break up with the boyfriend now.
Exactly what everybody said. Like, they're getting divorced in front of 5,000 people. But sometimes that's what it takes. And so she was willing to do it. And she had a partner that she just didn't want to be in a relationship with. And so she sent a text and she said, on Monday, we need to talk about our partnership moving forward. And she almost passed out when it was over.
But all 24 of you were there to catch her.
But we were all there to catch her. So that's an example.
Okay. So I want to do this, because I think this will be very interesting. Over a year ago, I'd say, I want to kind of talk about how this podcast came in, and then where the mastermind entered, and how your business has changed over that course. Okay. So a year ago in September, you and I stepped on a stage together in my network marketing business, right?
Yep.
And we delivered a presentation in a big group forum with lots of leaders, lots of people there, and you kind of had an epiphany.
Yeah, I had an epiphany, and the epiphany that I had was, sometimes you try and force things, right? We both decided together that we were going to get into network marketing. And while I love the business, I'm still very much involved in the business. I have passion. I have a bigger passion for other things. And a lot of the listeners of this podcast can see that when I do my podcast episodes, I put my heart in it. There's a lot of research. I think I have a natural ability for it, a natural propensity to it. It's kind of in my nature to ask questions. And I was forcing more network marketing on myself than doing something that I felt really called to do. And to answer your question about the stage, when I was on stage, it became very apparent to me that everybody in the room, after we both got done talking, wanted to direct questions to you, so much so that it's not an ego thing. I swear to God, if you had a YouTube video on it, you'd say he's right. So much so that I felt like I wasn't even on the stage with her. Every question was directed to her. And the reason why it was directed to her was because it was obvious that she had the passion, she had the knowledge base, and she was the one to go to with the question. And when I got off the stage, everybody surrounded Kim. And I was literally standing there, and it was the first time in my life where I felt invisible. Like I have a deep voice. I have big hair. I have a big personality.
You're hard to miss.
I'm hard to miss, but I was invisible. Don't confuse it with invincible, because they're different. And I just really felt like I was in the wrong place. And so as a result of doing that, Kim and I had to decide, how do we navigate these rough waters where I have a love for network marketing, I have a love for our team, but I also have an interest in other areas. And so what we were able to do through the undying support of my wife was retool how we both showed up in these areas. And so effectively right now, Kim, we kind of are like running like 90-10, I would say. So 90% of our team is being run by Kim, and 10%, which is mostly just support where she needs it, is being done by me. 90% of the podcast and this new mastermind is being done by me, and 10% of the support, and probably a little bit more right now because we're just launching, is done by Kim.
And so the reason I went back to that stage moment is because after that, we played stupid idea time. And it was like, okay, so if this isn't where your passion lies, you love the residual income, you love what you're getting from it, but it's not your passion, it's not what's fueling you, not like it is me. What would you love to do? And we really sat there and played massive stupid idea time, because now we have this residual income coming in. We have business A that we could let go of if we needed to, but it's also providing income. And now you had freedom to do what it is you're passionate about. And so in stupid idea time, that's when this new idea for a podcast was born, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the other thing that I realized is, look, any startup, including a mastermind, including a podcast, any startup you do isn't easy. It requires a lot of work. There's a giant learning curve that's associated with it. And the only way that you're truly going to be able to push when you feel like the deck is stacked against you, when you feel like you don't have another minute to go on, where you feel like you can't hit your ass with both hands, the thing that is going to be able to push you through it is your passion for what it is that you're doing.
Okay, and so now we played stupid idea time. You have that passion. We know that you want to do a podcast. Guys, we've done podcasts before. If you didn't know, we had Jet Set Life. We did Jet Set Insider. He did Jet Set Money. We weren't new to the podcast game. We just had stopped for a few years, especially while we had Sophia. So the idea of bringing back a podcast was, not a new thing. However, our podcast was never at the top of the charts. And it was early in the days of podcasting, and you had some amazing guests, especially on Jet Set Money. But you needed guidance, you needed a direction, you needed other people to bounce ideas off of. So I remember shortly after Stupid Idea Time, you got the call from Chris Harder about his mastermind, and you decided to take the leap and join his mastermind because you knew he would have, of course, he and Lori have great podcasts, and you knew that that group that he would curate and put together would be able to elevate your dream of building this podcast, right?
Yeah. And what's interesting about it was, I had one foot in the door, which was I knew that I wanted to do a podcast. But for those of you listening, you didn't pay any money to listen to this podcast, right? So it doesn't necessarily produce income. You have to have an unlimited amount of downloads to be able to get sponsorship that's truly worth, quitting your day job for. So when I joined the mastermind, I really only had the idea of podcasts, but I had no clue.
All you wanted to do was monetize. First, you wanted to launch because you hadn't even launched yet. The mastermind began in January, and Chris and the team, I remember you went to your first mastermind and they gave you guidelines and a timeline, and they held your feet to the fire and they supported you, and that's where you got your resources for who is going to help you promote it and who is going to help you design it and the topics you were going to cover. And you talked to them about how we're going to do Fri-Date and all of those things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's funny, God, it was just yesterday, but it seems like it was so long ago.
It seems like you've had this forever.
Because so much has happened. Yeah,
so much has happened in 1 year, and your original goal was to monetize. So you walked into the mastermind, and the reason I'm going deep on this is I want people to see the trajectory that this can take. So you walked into the mastermind with an idea of, I think I want to do a podcast and find a way to monetize it to create an additional stream of income, because we're all about multiple streams of income.
That's exactly right. And so in having the conversation there, I was able to identify a couple of things. One, what the overall year of the mastermind needed to look like in order for it to be successful. So in other words, something that I wanted to mastermind. Now, here's a point. A lot of people are reaching out to me for my mastermind saying, I don't exactly know what it was that I want. Good, because I didn't either, okay? I just had an idea of something I was good at and an idea that I think I could do something with podcasting. But in terms of creating my own mastermind, and specifically in the way that I'm doing my mastermind now, was completely not on the table.
Okay, so yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead. So you went in, they helped you in the first one create this idea for the podcast, work hard, play hard. Who are you going to interview? In fact, many of your mastermind people, one thing I think is so great about the mastermind is it's like crowdsourcing resources in all areas. You got people to help you produce it. You got people to help you with social media. You got people to help you with the podcast itself and actual people to interview. And so a lot of these connections came through the mastermind. That's what's so powerful about being in a mastermind is you're literally crowdsourcing resources and everybody is there to work on each other's businesses and to help each other succeed. So then you go to mastermind number 2, and because there's 3 in the year, you go to number 2 and you come home and you say, honey, I'm going to host my own mastermind. And the evolution that took during that event, that 3-day event that you went to, tell me about that and how that little seed was born, because I know it's something based on our summers in Greece and what we had been doing. And it's kind of like a formal version of that.
Yeah. So after we did the podcast, after I came up with coming out of the mastermind, I had my podcast. I knew what I wanted to do. When I went back into the mastermind, I was like, okay, guys, you told me get a podcast.
You hit
get
top
it
100.
Produced. I went to, we hit top 100 on iTunes. I did it. What do I do now? And so the conversation then went around, well, what are you good at? What do you love to do? And then it just clicked. And what clicked was, for those of you that follow Kim and I, you see that travel is more than a passion. It is a way of life for us.
It's our lifeblood.
It is our lifeblood. And we are constantly traveling. And now we have a lot of people that want to travel with us. So I realized that when I take a trip with some of the people, and they could be high-level influencers, and they could just be people that, own their own businesses or just friends, whatever. I realized that what I'm doing is a mastermind, but I'm doing it in places like Italy or on the beaches of Greece or, Tel Aviv or, somewhere around the world. Most of the ideas that I get moving forward, God, probably 70 to 80% of new ideas I get come when I'm in some kind of an experience, usually traveling somewhere in the world and with people that inspire me and are usually people that are in different businesses.
Okay, so now you come home and you have this idea. And, it's so funny, Rob, because for years, people were telling us, why don't you put together a Jet Set Life trip? Or why don't you do some sort of travel thing? And we're like, no, we're not going to be travel agents. No knock to travel agents. It just wasn't our dream. So you said it right. It clicked. It made so much sense. And you're such a great facilitator of information. You're such a great interviewer. You can pull things out of people like nobody's business. Just in our network marketing business, I've watched you take someone who's super successful and has no idea how they got successful and reverse engineer by asking the right questions and pulling it out of them. That's your gift. And also, your other big gift, your magical gift, is your gift of creating magic moments for people in these magical experiences. So a mastermind in the way that you're going to do it, which no knock to the people that do masterminds in conference rooms. You just came from one of those. No knock to that. It's just not how you're going to do it. The way you do it is through experiences, experiential learning, and putting people in a different state emotionally, physically, laughing and having a great time, and also facilitating those changes that need to happen. So to me, what's been so amazing about watching you go through this mastermind experience is that 1 year ago, this wasn't even on the table. As of right now, you already have your mastermind over 1/3 full, almost a half full, and you haven't even launched it yet. Like I think you launched it yesterday, which is amazing to me.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is as I'm thank you for that, and while I'm listening to that, it's one of the presenters at the Mastermind this weekend said something that I've wanted to have an opportunity to use it, and I think I could use it now. It's difficult to read the label when you're inside the jar, and I love that expression because there were things that I was doing naturally while we were traveling around the world and having dinners in cool places. And it doesn't even have to be, international. It could be domestic. But the point is that there were so many things that I just intuitively knew that when I leave and I take a trip somewhere with cool people, I know that I'm going to come back with new ideas, new inspiration, because I'm getting out of my familiar network. Now, I knew it. I was inside the jar. I couldn't read the label. So for me, I just operated my own life that way. And it wasn't until somebody pointed out and said, dude, there are a lot of people that are not doing this that can benefit so much from this. Why don't you do it? So, we started getting bigger. Like, this was not an official mastermind in Greece this summer, but we had 15 people with us in Greece. And it was one of the best masterminding experiences that we've ever had because of the kind of people, where we were, and what came out of it.
And some little things that we've always used, like our stupid idea time game, our goal setting game that we, here's the thing, right? A lot of people will set their goals like stressed out Monday morning, whatever. They're setting their goals for the new year, the last quarter, whatever. And here's how we set our goals. We have this magical restaurant in Mykonos that's outdoors. It has no electricity. It has about 10 tables. You're looking at the most blue-green sea I have ever seen. And you have amazing food. You have great wine. You have great people. You talk about your goals. You write them on a piece of paper, stick them in an envelope. You seal it. And sometimes if we've had too much wine, we start like sealing it with wine, which I don't think actually works, but it was fun for a minute. And then, in a year, we open those same goals and see what we hit, what we missed, and all of that. So these things that we've been doing naturally in our lifetime, now you get to put into this mastermind and create those magic moments. Like what you did in Greece this summer for our friends was insane. And they all had the most amazing time because of it. And I know came back with such great lessons. And some of the biggest lessons we've ever learned have been on these trips with amazing people that are, just that's the thing about up-leveling your tribe.
If you do the opposite of what you just described, you will never get your best idea sitting in front of a computer screen.
Yeah. And it's true. Stressed out with other things to do, sitting in front of a computer. And that's it. And so that's why I think, so tell me this, how do you know if you are not ready for a mastermind? Like what are the people that come into a mastermind and maybe they don't have the right expectation, or maybe they're just not ready in general? Who would not be ready for a mastermind?
I think people that are not willing to play full out. I think people that are stepping into a mastermind that they can't afford. I've seen that. That's a big deal. There's two people. There's the ones that can afford it and aren't willing to get out of their comfort zone and do it. And then there's the other ones who are willing to get out of their comfort zones, but really can't afford it. And they're taking a second mortgage on their house to be able to do it. So I don't think in either of those cases, it's the right person. I also think that if somebody is looking for a coach, that a mastermind is not the right thing for you. Now, you have to decide whether or not coaching is something that's really going to give you your best idea. And just to take a slight tangent, when you have a coach, you have one person that has their experiences, their viewpoint, their point of view that's guiding you. And there's benefits, obviously. If they're good at what they do, they're gonna help you. When you're in a mastermind, you have 25 people that are not coaching you, that are giving you just their perspective. So I think if you're looking for a coach, if you say, hey, look, I want to do A, B, C, and D, and I want a coach that's going to walk me through exactly how to do it, that is not a mastermind. If you have an idea or don't have an idea, but just want to be around people that are doing really fun things in a very cool way, a way that speaks to you, and we'll get into the way I do my mastermind, but the way that speaks to you, that's where you're going to get your best ideas.
And a couple of other things that I've noticed, because I've seen a lot of other people do masterminds and I've heard the reasons behind them. Sometimes people go into it with like an ulterior motive. And I think that's not good. We're all for up-leveling your tribe, but we've talked about this in previous podcasts. They also come in with like, what can I take from these people? I have these high-level people and I want to pick their brain, right? We talked about that. And what can I take versus what can I provide? I'm just going to give you a little bit of put you on a pedestal here for a minute. Rob called me on Saturday evening of his mastermind after it closed. And I could hear in his voice, he was choked up and he was probably crying. And it was, he could barely get it out. But, Chris had asked the entire mastermind who was the most impactful person in the mastermind for the year, who made the most impact for them. And it sounds like it was pretty unanimous that it was Rob, because he comes with an abundant giving heart and is willing to help anybody with any task and break it down. And like I said, he's an amazing facilitator. So he was voted by his peers in the mastermind as the most impactful person of the mastermind for the year. And that is the person that needs to come into a mastermind that wants to give, not the one that wants to hide their resources or just get close to a certain, Insta celebrity. Like, you don't want that. That's not the right person for a mastermind. You want someone with this kind, open, giving heart that is there to provide as much knowledge and support and guidance as possible. So
yeah, thank you.
I just want to celebrate
you for bringing that up.
It
was definitely, when you see the girl who wins Miss America and she's like crying, I didn't think I was going to win. That's exactly what it felt like for me. But yeah, you're right. You've got to show up at these events, not saying, what can I take from this room? You are masterminding, right? This is an action that you're doing. So
there's one of you and 24 other people.
Yeah. So the job of a good mastermind facilitator is to make sure that, every single person that's selected, and I am extremely picky with who I'm putting into my group, because they have to be the right people. And, you could spot people, there's, with the world of transparency on social media, you can get on anybody's Facebook or Instagram or do a couple of phone calls with them, and you kind of know where they are in that spectrum. It's pretty obvious, but that's a great point.
Okay. And so there's so many masterminds out there, and there are so many amazing masterminds. And we're going to talk about yours in a second, but how can people choose the right mastermind for them? Obviously, price kicks it off, right? Like, you want to make sure you can afford your mastermind. What other things should people look for when they're choosing a mastermind?
Well, let me say something about affording it, because, the word affording it, it's so subjective. So you'll get out what you put into it. So if you're making $30,000 a year, don't join a $100,000 a year mastermind. That's just dumb. But if you're making six figures and a mastermind is $20,000 or $30,000, you could probably figure out a way, six figures, multiple six figures, you could probably figure out a way to make it happen, even if you perceive that the mastermind is expensive, because the mastermind will make you more money. So I want to make sure that I'm clear on the reach that's associated with affording a mastermind. Okay, what was your question? My question was, how can people choose between the many amazing masterminds that are out there right now? Like what, because, for the Love of Money mastermind is going to be different than your mastermind, is going to be different than Lewis Howe's mastermind, is going to be different than, and it goes on. And because there's so many amazing ones, how can somebody look at all of these and go, okay, I'm at Ben & Jerry's, which flavor do I want? I think what you do is, I think there are two things that you consider. First one is, who is the person that's putting it on? Because the person that's putting it on is going to have their spin on the masterminds. So, for example, Chris Harder, the mastermind that I'm in, which is amazing, is called For the Love of Money. Now, Chris is a big give back kind of guy. He loves to give back. That's just his thing. He's building schools for Pencils of Promise. When we were late, if we had to be back at the Mastermind at 2:00 and we were not in our seats at 2, you had to donate $100 if you sat down at 2:01 to Pencils of Promise, right? So everything around what he does is related to that. Lewis Howes, on the other hand, is a giant influencer, right? He's got one of the most successful podcasts in the world.
And he's all about making an impact.
And he's all about making an impact. So the kinds of people that are going to be in the Mastermind are going to be the people that are attracted to Lewis and the kinds of things that he stands for. So I think you have to look at the facilitator, and then you have to look at the genre, because they're not all equal. Some masterminds are around business, some masterminds are around personal, some masterminds are around both.
All right. So now I'm gonna let you go and talk about your mastermind. So who is the perfect fit for your mastermind?
Well, I think what we need to do is talk about, who the people are who are coming into mind, right? So these are people that they're workers. They're not short on work ethic. They work their asses off. They've probably done a shit ton of personal development. They've had a lot of great dinners, a lot of great conversations. They've probably been to a lot of conferences. But for whatever the reason is, they're at a point where they're sort of tired of those, long tables with the mints and the water and the tablecloth that are in the back of a Holiday Inn conference room. They just, they've done it and they're looking for something different. And they're at a place in their life where they may be, working harder, but they're making the same money, or they, keep bumping up against a ceiling that they have with their income, or maybe their business is starting to stall because they're not passionate anymore about it, or they need to re-inspire it. Their relationship maybe with their spouse it can use more of a deeper connection because they're spending so much of their time working. There's this giant imbalance, and let's talk about balance for a second. There really is no balance. You're not going to take like a seesaw where you're going to, make it perfectly even. There are going to be times in your life and different seasons in your life where you're going to be, quote, out of balance. But when you're hitting a point where you're 30, 40, 50 years old and all you're doing is working, and your relationship with your spouse and your relationship with your children, your relationship with your friends is really starting to suffer because you're becoming so one-dimensional that all you're doing is freaking working, then it becomes an addiction where you don't know how to do anything else other than work. And that, the mark where you hit $200,000 a year, if I just hit 200, then you hit it. If I just hit 300, then you hit it. Then it becomes 400 and 500 and $1 million and $2 million. And what happens is you just never take the time to say, I need to start looking at other areas of my life. And if you listen to my Work Hard, Play Hard podcast closely, you will hear that when I talk to entrepreneurs, they are very, very good at talking about the work part of their life. I mean, they are chatty Cathy, right? They just keep going. This is my idea and I loved it and this is how I came up with it. And then when I move into the play hard part of their life, there becomes these long pauses of, well, what do I do outside of business that lights me up? And they're struggling. And in the beginning, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this show because, how am I going to do a show on Work Hard, Play Hard when nobody's playing? And then I realized that this is an area that is at great risk for an entrepreneur.
Okay, so, you just alluded to a lot of things there, and I am not the interviewer you are, so I'm realizing my questions are now backwards. But what sets your mastermind apart from the others? What are you just alluded to relationships and to pushing in other areas of your life. And of course, that's the work hard, play hard philosophy. So how is your mastermind going to be different? Is it going to up-level their success if they're playing? Tell me more about that.
Well, what's going to make it different on the surface is we're not going to be doing it in the conference room, first of all. We're going to be doing it around experiences. So let me say this. If I take you to Italy and we go truffle hunting, and then we come back to the villa and we have a glass of champagne and we brainstorm ideas or do mastermind exercises, they're going to be much more blue sky thinking, inspirational, and ideas are going to come out of the universe in a different level than if I did it in New Jersey at the La Quinta. You know what I mean? You're just going to get sorry, New Jersey. You're just going to get...
Sorry, LaQuinta.
Sorry, LaQuinta. You're just going to get a different level of thinking. So on the surface, it's going to be different because it's designed to be completely different.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Here in your mastermind, you're doing 3 mastermind in-person masterminds, right?
Yep.
So 1 domestic, 2 international.
Yes.
And, right now we're going back and forth between different destinations, but, we're pretty solid on domestic being Boston, right?
Yep.
And currently international, we're pushing you outside your box, and you're going to do St. Petersburg, Russia, I think.
Yep.
And Florence, Italy. So those 3 are what you're going with. So now you have this group of 25 amazing high achievers that really need to push and become more fulfilled in all areas of life, right? They need to re-inspire themselves possibly. Maybe they're shifting into a new industry. Maybe you've always been a doctor and now you're shifting into podcasting or something like that. Maybe you need a little more fun in your life. Maybe you need stories to be able to tell because you're an influencer and you want to share experiences and have a more catalog of stories to share on stage, whatever it is. So now you have this massive group of people. You're taking them to all these amazing destinations, creating your Rob magic moments and experiences. How is all of this, if you could sum it up, going to increase not just their fulfillment, but also their business success?
Well, because what we're going to be doing inside of those experiences is we're going to be masterminding not just your business, but also your personal life. So we're going to be talking about maybe some blind spots that you haven't seen in your business. And, some of the people that are already in the mastermind are people that have companies that are, worth $80 million. And there's other people who are influencers. So you're going to be getting perspective from multiple different industries, let's call it, that are going to help your business grow. You're going to be in an environment that's going to be super inspirational, that's going to help you to come up with ideas that are inside of you, that are going to help you grow. And the kinds of people that you're going to be around are people that are really, really good in lots of different areas of not just their business, but their life. So for example, let's just say that, 15 of the 25 people, never miss a day of workout. Well, if this is your new tribe, if this is your new group that you're hanging with, and, 15 of the 25 that you're going to be spending the year with are into training and nutrition and going to the next level, and you don't work out, chances of you starting to work out are going to be much higher. So they say that you are the average of 5. Another example is if you're around people that are making, 3 or 4 times what you're making, you're the average of your 5 people. Your income is going to start going up. So all of these different areas of your life are going to start going up because of the concentration of the people that you're now spending the next year with.
All right. And how can somebody apply for your mastermind?
It's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to workhardplayhardpodcast.com/masterminds.
All right. And by the way, there's a video on there from our test little beta semi-mastermind this summer, and it's pretty spectacular.
We call that a sizzle reel in the business. So if you go to the top, you'll see a video right under the headline, not the headline looping video, but just beneath that. It's a Vimeo video, and it's our little test in Greece. So if you like what you see in that video, chances are this is a great mastermind for you. If you don't apply. It's probably not.
All right. So I hope that you guys learned a lot today about what a mastermind is and how it can help you take your life and your business to the next level. And again, if you are interested in Rob's Work Hard, Play Hard Mastermind, workhardplayhardpodcast.com/mastermind.
Have a great week, everybody. All right, thanks for listening. If you love this episode and you know someone that needs some help in either stepping up their work hard game or their play hard game, it would mean the world to me if you shared this podcast with them to help me get this movement out there. So if you like what you heard, head on over to iTunes, take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, and I will be forever grateful. So until the next episode, excuses are over. It's time to live.